The voting shall occur only on the days specified in this paragraph, and counties and municipalities shall not be authorized to conduct advance voting on any other days.
So I'm going to deny your petition, Mr. Kaufman.
Will you grant a certificate of immediate review?
So that they can appeal it?
I don't know. Think about it.
Don't be fooled and don't be alarmed if it seems like Trump is overperforming what you'd expect when you get to midnight, because there's still that 100,000 ballot kind of big cache of ballots that have yet to be reported in Milwaukee.
Filed in Fulton County, Fannyland, Fulton County Republican Party and the Georgia Republican Party versus Fulton County. Spent a lot of time there with Fannie and Wade. They say, all right, listen, we're suing because we are the Georgia Republican Party and we want to make sure elections in Fulton are conducted in a free and fair manner. The Republican Party has a substantial interest in ensuring that we have a sanctified election so that the laws are followed about specifically when the ballot boxes can be available for dropping off absentee ballots. There's a rule that says when this is allowed to occur. They say Georgia election law that's written in the law. Now, if you don't like this rule, you got to change the rules. You have to rewrite this statute. You don't just get to just change things in the middle of an election. Georgia election law requires that ballot boxes must be closed when advanced voting is not being conducted. That's the law. Pursuant to this law, the advanced voting period ends the Friday before the election. So it's over on Friday. Done. No more advanced voting. The law says that. Subsection D1B. D1B further states that, quote, the voting shall occur only on the days specified in this paragraph, and counties and municipalities shall not be authorized to conduct advance voting on any other days. Clear as day. Don't have the power. So in Fannyland, where anybody can do whatever they want with no consequences at all, on November 1st, plaintiff discovered that Fulton County has authorized elections to be opened from the hours of 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on November 2nd and 3rd, Saturday and Sunday. Wait. It already says you can't do that. It ends on Friday. The law says it specifically. So they opened on Saturday and Sunday because who cares? November 2nd and 3rd are outside of the advanced voting period authorized by the law. The law says that any additional drop boxes shall be geographically distributed by population in the county. Let's be clear about that, right? The county's a big county. Where do they want to put the drop boxes? Oh yeah, in the centralized city centers where there are going to be high propensities of Democrat voters. They're not popping up drop boxes in rural locations where there will be red voters. They drop them in where they need to increase the turnout of a specific type of vote. However, Fulton County, their stated intention is to only open some drop boxes, tacitly acknowledging that Fulton County is contrary to the law. Drop boxes must be closed, right? They're saying we're opening some. So we were immediately notified. We told them immediately, this is a violation of Georgia's law. Ballot box closure laws are in place. But Fannie and Fulton County, they refused to take any effective action to ensure that state election laws were complied with. Why is Fannie not prosecuting these people? There's a clear violation of Georgia law. Don't open the drop boxes. They opened 4 of them. They posted it on their website. Maybe she's on a cruise. Now, this court, they say, should issue a temporary restraining order. The purpose of the restraining order is to stop an ongoing harm. Here, it's warranted. The damage to us would begin in only a few hours as soon as the drop boxes are open. They cannot be harmed by following the law. We're not asking them to do anything other than to follow the law. So what damage is going to come upon them? And granting the injunction, all that does by granting us the power is it just allows the status quo to continue. The law is clear. The timing of when drop boxes may be open is codified. It's written. You can read it. This way, it can be done in an equitable manner across all 159 counties. If Fulton County can violate Georgia state law, it would make the entire conduct of this election arbitrary because they can do whatever they want. And they do. No one cares. Judge McAfee's like, yeah, well, it wasn't that bad of a lie. Just a noxious odor for him. The threat of irreparable harm to the moving party is real. Once these illegally cast absentee ballots are accepted, it's going to be impossible to separate them out. And this will be allowing illegal absentee ballots to be collected after the rules say no. So we want a declaration as well. We say they should be told to cease any and all violations of the law. It's already over. Not permit persons to hand return their absentee ballots and award plaintiffs their actual costs and attorney's fees. And so this was all submitted. You can see just how reckless and how they don't even care about the laws or the rules. They just do whatever they want and whatever they can get away with. And they got away with it because here is what the judge sounded like when they had an emergency emergency hearing over the weekend on it.
As long as it's in compliance with Georgia's, because here's the thing, those registrar's offices that are open, those 4, have been open this whole time. Is that correct, Ms. Joe?
Yes, they've been open for advanced voting.
They've been open for people to come in to hand in their absentee ballots the entire time.
They've also had Dropboxes, Your Honor. I mean, I know
understand that. I understand, but we all need to forget the word Dropbox even exists because it's not really relevant or germane to this conversation as I see it. So, but those offices, Ms. Joe, North Fulton, South Fulton Annex, downtown, and Union City, were open for absentee voters to hand deliver their absentee ballots.
Yeah, that's right. They were
Having
open.
had limited time to consult with our department, I'm going to ask that Ms. Williams jump in if this is incorrect, but it's my understanding that yes, your statement is accurate.
Well, let's put Ms. Williams under oath real quick before I ask her that question about that. They have announced that they are keeping over 4 locations: the North Fulton Annex, South Fulton Annex, the downtown office located at 130, I believe it's 130 Peachtree, correct?
Yes.
As well as the main registrar's office in Union City. Is that correct?
Yes.
All of those locations been open during the pendency or since early voting began, I believe on October 15th. Have they been open for
Okay, so that's great.
absentee ballot holders to hand deliver their absentee ballot?
Apparently they're allowed
Yes,
to.
these are our regular office locations.
The point is about
They're not
closing
newly
it
established. These are regular offices
on
that are
Saturday and
open
Sunday.
year-round, and they have been open through the duration of this election.
And is the procedure that is going to be used or that is proposed to be used today, tomorrow, and Monday the exact same procedure that has been in place since early voting began on October 15th?
That's not the point.
Yes, voter can walk in, fill out an affidavit, and drop off their absentee ballot. That is the procedure at all of those locations.
And have all of those locations been open to poll watchers since early voting began?
No, those are our offices, so they're not polls. Therefore, there's no poll watchers that come into the facility.
Oh.
But we do have election monitors that have been in our facility.
And Your Honor, that was my point that I maybe didn't artfully put forward is credentials are done by location and by day. We have credentials for polling locations. These are not polling locations. And that's why I was talking about meaningful. And when you put a last minute.
Mr. Kaufman, hold on. I think I understand your concern, Mr. Kaufman. Ms. Williams, has it been possible? Could a poll watcher apply? You said you've had observers. Is there a process in place by which a poll watcher can access these locations? Be it from any party,
Right.
Green, Libertarian, Democrat, Republican, doesn't matter.
So again, these are our offices, they're our regular business offices where we conduct elections. It's my understanding, since they're not polls, that we have never, since I have been here, poll watchers in our offices, because they're not polls.
Have you ever had an application for a poll watcher to come to these 4 locations? Ever? From any party that you know of?
I have never seen a party of any party request to be a poll watcher in our office. No.
And you've been receiving absentee ballots there since this code section has been in place?
For the decade that I know of,
This is all meaningless. Like, it's about the timing.
So there's been no change in procedure because of the opening of these locations for these additional 3 days?
No, none at all.
I'm going to ask Mr. Kaufman if he's got any questions for Ms. Williams, and then Ms. Joe and Mr. Kastorf, I'll allow you the same.
Sure. Ms. Williams, when did you first receive notice the intent to have these 4 locations?
Now, Mr.
Open?
Kaufman, we're talking to her about poll watching.
What?
Okay. Well, I wanted to know when.
How would you have known? Because they've been open since October 15th, and nobody's applied since October 15th.
Wow.
Isn't
this
it
judge,
true that people apply
this
for
judge is arguing with him? That is totally inappropriate. That's their argument to make.
poll watching credentials in your experience for there are polls, and that is the sole place to apply for?
If you're asking me if we received poll watcher credential letters from all the parties to go to our polling sites for advanced voting, to go to our polling sites for election day, yes, we have received those and created badges, etc., in regards to allowing poll watchers to come into advanced voting and election day.
And isn't it true that each poll application, specific watcher at a specific poll for a specific day, correct?
There's no application. What we receive from the parties, a list of their poll watchers and the poll watchers' credential letters. And then we make badges for those poll watchers to go to the locations that the party has requested the poll watcher to be assigned. And the requests we have received are for the advanced voting locations and the election day locations.
Do you consider the Fulton County Elections Hub and Operations Center a poll location?
No, it was a poll location.
Right.
for
So how can you
advanced
have
voting.
monitors there?
It is advanced voting ended yesterday, so there is no active voting at the elections hub. It is not an election day site. It is now an office, and it will be for tabulation. And we have received poll watcher requests from all the parties to view a tabulation at the elections hub. And we have
At
created
the hub,
badges and
not at the drop-off location.
it followed procedures in regards to allowing that.
Correct. And when was the application deadline to apply for poll watchers in Fulton County?
Okay. I see where this
It's
is
the
going.
same for all the states in Georgia, and I don't have that date in front of me.
Okay.
But we follow the exact deadline per the SOS calendar and the election rule.
Okay, and isn't it true, we can all agree that the application deadline has passed, correct?
I don't have the date in front of me, so I would
What?
have
Come
to
on,
confirm that.
Nadine.
Okay, so is it, you're saying that the Fulton County Republican Party could apply right now for poll watchers, or is that closed?
First of all, the Republican Party has already submitted their poll watcher lists and credential letters. We've already received that from the Republican Party.
Yeah, because there was a deadline, right?
And I will look up the date of when the
14
deadline
days.
is due, but we've already received that from pretty much all the parties.
I think it's 14 days before the election.
The point being is that the deadline has likely passed. Would you agree with that?
If you give me a
She's
second.
looking it up now. He's asking her to speculate.
Well, I'll give her a chance to look it up, Mr. Kaufman.
Yeah, give her a chance. The election's tomorrow. Let's see.
21-2408.
The deadline for the November election, deadline to submit poll watch for designation letters is November the 2nd, which is today.
Okay, and then you would agree with me, you made this press release yesterday, and so
We're supposed to apply for poll workers at your new location
how
right
would
now.
a party know? Strike that. You agree with me, this press release was put out yesterday afternoon, correct? About these 4 new locations, or these 4 locations that'll be open?
Okay, so yes, a press release was submitted yesterday, but it's our offices. It is not new polling locations. So there is nothing to report to the poll watchers because I'm not opening new polling sites. These are literally our offices that are open year round.
So can we
every
have
day.
So
poll
there would
watchers
be
there?
really no way for someone to apply for a poll watcher location for a place that's not a poll in order to observe this tomorrow or today.
I don't believe the code says that poll watchers go into offices.
That's why you have
So,
it going
I
into
don't
your
know.
offices.
Somebody would
Yeah,
tell me
we
That
know.
is allowed for a poll watcher to be watching an office.
That's why you have them coming to your office, isn't
So
it?
you contend that you have a voluntary Fulton County monitors and that's the sufficient safeguard. Is that your position?
I'm not understanding your question.
Well,
Once they
you
drop
would
off
agree
the
with me
ballots.
that no
I'm not
party-
going to ask her to make that legal
Yeah,
conclusion,
it's
Mr.
illegal.
Kaufman.
Okay,
That's a
strike
legal
that.
conclusion I'm not going to ask her to make.
You're objecting for
You would agree with
for
me
Miss
that
Joe?
it's a fact that neither the Republican Party nor the Democrat Party knew to or filed poll watcher application for the Fulton County Elections Hub and Operations Center for this weekend, correct?
It's not a poll, so no, they would not.
No,
Okay.
no
And
watchers.
so, Your Honor, that's where I'll leave it.
Okay, Ms. Joe,
The court has already posed all of the questions that I would have asked her.
Of
so
course
I
they
have-
did.
Mr. Castorf.
Yeah, that's great. No, Judge, you did a great job. Thanks for handling that for me. I don't have any questions at all. You took care of that for me. I've actually just been sitting here on my phone playing this game here, not even worried about it. Thank you. Great job.
Question, Your Honor.
To not permit persons to hand return their absentee ballots in violation of OCGA 21-2-382 and 21-2-385. I do not believe that it is a violation of those 2 code sections. I find
Of course.
that it's not a violation of those 2 code sections for a voter to hand return their absentee ballots. The second part of that is issue an injunction not to accept absentee ballots in a Dropbox today, tomorrow, or Monday, to which I've heard consent from Ms. Joe. And Mr. Castorf, do you also agree with that position, that that would be impermissible and those votes would be null and void?
Ballots that are dropped in Dropbox.
That are placed into a Dropbox today, tomorrow, or Monday. If they were able to find a Dropbox, those votes would not be valid.
We agree that the Dropbox period is closed, yes.
The Dropbox period
So-
is over, but they can go drop them off at
Um,
offices in Fulton County
I am,
downtown,
you know,
in their
I'm not going
offices.
to grant your prayer for relief, Mr. Kaufman. I think it's permissible under the code section, under 382 and 385.
Yeah, great job, Judge. Did a great job for the government.
385A specifically, and 382, I believe it's A as well.
So they're going to go drop them off in Fanny's Dropbox.
Yes, both
Right in one of her
382A and 385A permit voters to hand deliver their absentee ballots. Voters or the other folks authorized under 385A to deliver the absentee ballots. I'm not going to address the poll watching situation because it wasn't pled, so I'm not going to address that at all. But I'm going to deny your relief as requested today, Mr. Kaufman. Anything else from the
All
petitioner?
right. So
Well,
about
I'd
what you'd
ask
expect.
2 things. One is that to the extent there's to the Dropbox, that part be granted. And
Yeah, I'm granting
Yeah.
Dropboxes shall not be in place, nor any votes placed into any said Dropboxes be accepted if they are delivered on November 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, or 4th.
so
Yeah,
granted.
I'll grant that, sure.
And then I guess we probably will ask for a certificate of immediate immediate review.
Appealing
the court
it.
will grant that request.
Oh my gosh, it's in the same
While you
building.
consider that, Your Honor, may I ask the court to consider it's sticking with its original intent to just deny the relief, because putting into your order that you are granting relief indicates that there is a need and that he has made a showing that we are in violation of the Dropbox provision, which there has been no evidence that we are.
It's not specific in their publication. It says for hand return. It doesn't say hand return to the registrar's office or anything else. It says hand return their absentee ballots. And these locations had drop boxes, and we were taking their word for it based upon timing when this was done. It's closed. I can't even independently verify, but it would act that as a injunction.
You can't get someone down to Union City and see if there's a Dropbox there, Mr. Kaufman? That's the only place that had a Dropbox.
The North Fulton Annex had a Dropbox, I believe, Your Honor. I believe I saw that myself.
They're in the same building as Fannie Willis, one of the drop boxes is. They're going to go drop it off at her desk.
Granting relief on that point, Your Honor, would essentially be telling the county to continue following the law. And I don't think that that's necessarily what...
Yeah, you haven't shown that they've violated that law. You haven't shown that they have any drop boxes out. That's a fair point.
I'm not sure when I could do that between filing something at 10 and a hearing at 8 when they're inside buildings now, Your Honor, that are closed.
I'm sure.
No.
Well.
The Dropbox code section is pretty specific. They're not inside buildings.
No, yes, they are now, Your Honor. They're absolutely are inside buildings and have to be observed and only open during times that the building is open and voting. That was the change. They're not outside. They're not just placed.
Judge.
And Your Honor, I would also point out that if you grant relief on that point, that does have the effect of potentially making the plaintiffs a prevailing party for their attorney's fees request. And I don't think that's appropriate under the showing that's been made today.
He's like, well, if you do it that way, then they win. He's like,
we would join in Fulton's request. We think as a matter of justiciability, there needs to be at least some minimum showing that there is, in fact, a violation of the law to create a right controversy. I take Mr. Kaufman's point that he hasn't had much time to investigate, and the level of showing might be relevant to this court, but here all we've presented is he hasn't personally verified Fulton isn't violating the law, and that's not the standard for obtaining injunctive relief.
Mr. Kaufman, you're saying they may have that stuff out there. I don't have any evidence that stuff is actually out there, that those drop boxes are actually there, as you allege.
There's nothing to be enjoined.
Yeah, can you show me where a Dropbox is where it's not supposed to be, Mr. Kaufman?
it's not a drop box. It's Nadine's desk. It's Fannie Willis's
I
desk.
received an email, one being removed today, but I don't know. That's from our correspondence outside of this. I don't know if Fulton County has removed it or not.
Fannie and Nathan Wade are there collecting them. They're like, hey, great to see you.
So
Thanks.
I don't have any drop boxes out there. I mean, to get relief, you have to have a violation, correct?
Well, yes, but in all fairness, we had a witness and I was limited into the questions that I could have asked Ms. Williams if there were any drop boxes still out there potentially. I don't know.
Miss Williams, any drop boxes out there, Miss Williams?
Okay, so we had a total of 7 drop boxes. So the ones that have been picked up were Alpharetta Library, C.T. Martin, East Roswell Library, and the Elections Hub. Those 4 have been removed because they get picked up when we pick up the advanced voting equipment. The remaining drop boxes will be picked up at 11 o'clock today when we pick up the advanced voting equipment, and they're currently locked and in a locked room at Buckhead Library, Sandy Springs Library, and Wolf Creek Library. Those will be picked up at 11 o'clock, and those last 3 are not at any of our offices, which of course is Government Center, North Annex, and South Annex. And of course, again, the Elections Hub box was already removed. So to answer your question, there's 3 that are getting picked up at 11 at Buckhead, Sandy Springs, and Wolf Creek, which is not advertised as the offices.
And are they available to the public at this time?
No, they're completely locked inside the vote. The box itself is locked, and the room that the box in is locked.
So inside a building and locked.
Mr. Kaufman?
I mean, with those representations, I think it does change a little bit that there are still physically ones not picked up. But, with those representations, Ms. Williams, I understand the court's position. Obviously, we want to make sure that they get picked up and remain sequestered until, the election day when they can be used again. Absent that, I mean.
Well, actually, the drop boxes aren't going to be used on election day, are they, Ms. Williams?
No, they're not used on election day. The boxes per code were emptied at the closure. All of them were emptied at the closing of advanced voting at 7 o'clock and locked. So none of them are in use until next election.
Okay, so I don't believe I have to grant a portion of the prayer for relief and that there's no violation. So I'm going to deny your petition, Mr. Kaufman.
Will you grant a certificate of immediate review?
So that they can appeal it?
I don't know. Think about it. Right now, I got to
I'll
draft
think
an
about
order.
it. I don't know,
Right?
man.
Let me get to drafting, y'all.
All right.
Thanks, Judge.
Thank you very much.
That's what's going on in Georgia. It's just perfect. So they can drop them off over there. The judge is going to allow it to happen because it's Fannyland. And you remember in Fannyland, we had that 4 a.m. water main break. That was a big problem for everybody. And now MSNBC's Ben Winkler is out saying that, yeah, you might have something like this happen again. You might have to go to bed thinking Trump won, waking up with Kamala Harris. This is Ben Winkler.
Well, you ask people how they're doing. Some people say nauseously optimistic. I've heard that all over the state. We know that because Republicans blocked the legislation that would have allowed the early processing of mail-in ballots, we know that because Republicans blocked that bill, we won't get the final tally of those votes, which will be overwhelmingly Democratic, until the middle of the night. In 2020, it was like 3 or 4 in the morning. And that means we should expect
once they stole all the votes.
The red shift, where it seems like Trump is doing better than he is in fact doing. And then, a red mirage, and then a blue shift once those absentee ballot counts come in the middle of the night. Don't be fooled and don't be alarmed if it seems like Trump is overperforming what you'd expect when you get to midnight, because there's still that 100,000 ballot kind of big cache of ballots that have yet to be reported in Milwaukee. Because people know that that's coming, my sense is that they're fairly calm about it. We can expect all kinds of shenanigans and bogus claims from Republicans, but a ballot is a ballot is a ballot. It will be counted. They are secure. We have free and fair and secure.
Okay. Every time they say we have free, fair, and secure elections, you know they don't. You know it's the opposite of that. So get ready for this blue shift. They said this was going to happen back in 2020. We have our eyes peeled on this. Same thing happened back then. We were wrapping up our live stream here on election night 4 years ago, and it looked good. Woke up, 4 a.m. water main break in Fulton County, Fannyland, and suddenly it was stolen. So we'll keep our eyes there on that one. That guy, we know what he wants to do and what they're trying to do. We'll see if they can pull it off.